So we'll begin with a question that everyone's already alluded to, and that has to do with Proposition 2, the Medicaid expansion. This is a two-part question. If you don't, I'll take the privilege as a moderator to expand a little bit on what's given to me. The first part, of course, is do you support Proposition 2 or not? If you do support it, to what extent is there going to need to be legislation implementing it? What kind of choices will that present for the legislature? If you do not support it, but it is nonetheless passed, will you abide by the decision to enact it and to pass it and comply with implementing the proposition? And we'll start, if you don't mind, Representative Nelson Troy, back up again with you.
Thank you. So as I hope all of you know, that I've been on the front line for the past 4 years of trying to get something to address this issue of the people in the gap. The majority of them are hardworking folks who are actually looking for a hand up, not a handout. And my position has always been that this issue should be fully debated by the Idaho legislature. In fact, I took a stand on the floor of the House this last session, along with Christy Perry and Kelly Packer, to not kill the debate on the floor. The citizens of Idaho, and unfortunately we didn't get the job done, the citizens of Idaho are now exercising their right to determine the future of Medicaid expansion through Proposition 2, and so it's no longer the legislator's role to tell Idahoans how the law will be. It's your role. So I hope that you're getting well educated on this, that you are questioning and debating and considering this. This is a big step for Idaho to take. The passage will have to be in concert with funding increases of some sort. Other states have passed approaches that actually define where those dollars will come from. I have never endorsed straight Medicaid expansion. I believe the system should be reformed, and I've always felt that Idaho should submit a waiver from complying with this straight Medicaid expansion, but unfortunately that was not to be. I think we would have had a better solution than this. However, I pledge that I will support whatever this district decides to do, including fully funding whatever the final decision is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harns.
I too am in favor of Proposition 2, and I've already confided one of my reasons for that. One thing that makes me different in this race is that not only do I believe in Proposition 2, but I have the backing of the Democratic Party and our platform in support of Proposition 2. I'm unequivocal on this. By contrast, in June at the Idaho Republican Party convention, the Republicans passed a resolution stating that the party formally opposes the initiative to expand Medicaid eligibility as detailed in the initiative petition. So, and also, my opponent did vote to block Medicaid expansion when it came to the House of Representatives a couple of years ago. So I think it's going to be a win-win. $600,000 of money will be saved in our county alone. Our taxes on the state and on the county level will no longer be going to provide indigent care. That money can be poured into education, into schools, into infrastructure, into roads, into police and fire, and all of the things that government should be doing in our counties. I also am very concerned about losing our wonderful hospital, Rittman, locally. This hospital is responsible for rural clinics right now. We don't have much for school nurses in the rural communities, so those little rural clinics are indispensable to bringing medical care to the kids in the area, as well as to everybody who lives in our small rural towns. Please join me in supporting Proposition 2.
Thank you. Mr. Gosling.
I fully support and have been working hard to support the passage of Proposition 2, and I will continue to do that when elected. But I think there's a bigger problem. We need to have the ability to attract and retain doctors. How many of you have the same doctor that you had 5 years ago? very few. Well, there's a few more than I thought, but anyway, it's a challenge for all of us. When I was on the State Board of Education, I worked very hard to expand the WWAMI program and the Utah program, which provided quality doctors to the state of Idaho. 70% of our investment remained in Moscow. Let's put remained in Idaho. That's one of those nights. I can see it already. One of the other issues was the scheduling of residencies. You can have a doctor, but he or she has to have a residency. Right now, we're limiting our residencies by the financial strength of the universities. They had a real tough one, of the state. We need to have residencies in mental health. We need to have residencies in rural health if we're going to improve those situations. And lastly, how many of you have had a doctor's appointment only to find out that you can't get that doctor's prescribed medicine or that prescribed treatment without going to a third party to get their okay? That's not right, and we need to work to change that. Thank you much.
Thank you very much. Representative Gannon.
Well, it's no secret that I have been on board for Prop 2 from the very beginning. There was a debate on the floor at the end of the year this year. It was not to vote yay or nay on passing it. It was just a vote to have the conversation. And while I admit I was fairly naive, that was a really tough day for me and a lot of people. When I realized that we as Idaho citizens had been allowing this debate to go on in the State House for 6 years and nothing was being done, I was pretty astounded by that. And I'll tell you, I worked for health and welfare for many years, and I would like to dispel something that I hear all the time. Oh, I bet those people just wanted something from you. I can tell you that it was a very, very honoring job to have, and that most people that walked into my office, at least 95% of them, had no more desire to be there than a man in the moon. It was a painful time for them. They were embarrassed, and I'm seeing their family at what they thought was the worst. So there's a humane reason. The other reason I'm for Prop 2 is because something really traumatic happened in St. Mary's this year, and our little rural hospital almost was in danger of closing its doors, and it had to do with being reimbursed. And we had to go to the county and talk to them about a loan until the money came through. It really hit home at that point how much those reimbursements and that money, because so many people hit the door of the emergency room and they have no way to pay for it. We can't turn those people away, but a hospital has to keep going. So I think there's a lot of reasons. I hope when it hits the floor and the people vote for it, that we get the message loud and clear. We're a citizen government. We work for you, not the other way around. And I'll do what I can.
Thank you very much. Senator Foreman.
There's a better way than Proposition 2. It's time for a paradigm shift in the world of welfare. Our strategy in welfare must empower the individual versus empowering the state. Our current programs are well-intentioned but perpetuate the need for welfare. What we need to do is educate people to make healthy lifestyle changes. That's part of it. We need to do the following to reform welfare: create participative welfare programs to educate recipients and help them make those healthy lifestyle changes. We need to design programs to be of short duration, design programs to get people back on their economic feet. We need to implement voluntary drug testing. We need to eliminate the rest of the fraud that's in our welfare programs. We need to gradually shrink the size and cost of the welfare programs to make them economically sustainable. Now, specifically with Proposition 2, I have two concerns. They're both constitutional in nature. Proposition 2 directs the Department of Health and Welfare to take all necessary actions to implement the applicable sections of the Social Security Act to expand Medicaid. Two concerns. Number one, the Fed could change the Social Security Act, resulting in unplanned changes that Idaho would have to comply with. And secondly, the mandate to health and welfare to take all necessary steps likely violates the state constitution because you can't cut the legislature out of the picture. Ohio is $1.5 billion over budget in their first 18 months after they closed the gap. Washington State's $2.3 billion over budget. Now, specifically, the second half of the question was, would I support it? Folks, I'm in the legislative branch, not the executive, not the judicial. You can't cut the legislative branch out of this. I will see what happens with it when it comes to the floor of the Senate. I will not ever vote for anything that I think hurts Idaho in the long run. I'm morally obligated to vote no on something like that. So the funding for this is going to be a question. The funding has to go through the state Senate and the House of Representatives.
Thank you. Next question I'll pose first. Mr. Nelson.
I can be short if you want me to be.
Person, it's getting past my bedtime.
That's okay. So I fully support Prop 2. I think you all know that from my from what I've said before, and I would certainly vote for the appropriate appropriations, as we need to do that in the legislature to fund it. The projections are that it will actually save a little money in the long run, so I think that will be reallocations of money actually. I appreciate all of the citizens of Idaho who have got together to get the petition signed, so we do get to vote on this. It seems to be financially very unconservative to have left this on the table for 6 years and not solve that problem. We've been leaving $450 million a year on the table for those years. That is our tax money that we can bring back into the country, into the state to help us. So again, I support Prop 2. I encourage all of you to vote for it, and I will work hard to implement it in the legislature.
Thank you.